Hello, welcome to another video on our channel. Here, we translate testimonies from people who have had near-death experiences and other spiritual experiences. Today, let's learn the story of Selene Lockhart. He says that he died, had a powerful encounter with God, and had revealing visions about the end of August 2024. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Leave a comment with your name and city. Let's now listen to Selene's testimony. My name is Selene Lockhart, and what I'm about to share with you is something that has completely changed my life and my perception of reality. I'm 35 years old and live in Boulder, Colorado. Before the event I'm about to relate, I led a very ordinary life. I worked as a literature teacher at a local school, loved hiking the beautiful trails that surround our town, and was trying to rebuild my life after a difficult divorce. I have always been a rational person, with my feet on the ground. He believed in science and verifiable facts. Spirituality was never a significant part of my life, although I respected others' beliefs. This skeptical stance toward the supernatural or the inexplicable was part of who I was, or at least who I used to be. That all changed one spring morning in 2015. The day started like any other, but ended with an experience that challenged everything I thought I knew about life, death, and what lies beyond. It was an event that not only altered my worldview, but gave me a new purpose and mission that I carry with me to this day. I know that what I'm about to tell you may seem unbelievable to many. A few years ago, I would probably have been the first to doubt a story like this, but I ask that you reserve your judgment and listen with an open mind. What I experienced that day was so real and profound that it changed the course of my existence. This is the story of my near-death experience, my encounter with the divine, and the disturbing visions I was shown about the future of humanity. It is a narrative of personal transformation, of cosmic revelations, and of a call to action that I believe is crucial for us all. By sharing my story, I hope to not only recount the extraordinary events I experienced, but also convey the urgency and importance of the message I received. What happened to me was not just a personal journey, but a glimpse into a future that will affect us all. Prepare yourself for a story that defies conventional logic and opens the door to a reality broader than many of us imagined possible. This is my truth, my experience, and the knowledge I have been charged with sharing with the world. That morning in May 2015 began like so many others. I woke up early, as usual, determined to start the day with an invigorating walk on the trails near my house. The air was fresh, and the sky, crystal blue, promised a perfect day. As I walked, I could smell the familiar scent of wildflowers and the gentle breeze caressing my face. It was one of those moments when you feel truly alive and connected to nature. I was deep in thought, reflecting on the recent challenges in my life. The divorce, moving house, the feeling of starting over. Despite the difficulties, I felt a strange peace that morning, as if something important was about to happen. It was then that I heard a buzzing sound next to my ear. Before I could react, I felt a sharp pain in my neck. A bee had stung me. Normally, this wouldn't be a cause for much concern, but this time was different. In a matter of seconds, my body panicked. My throat began to close. My breathing became labored, and a feeling of terror invaded me. Fighting the rising panic, I managed to reach for the EpiPen I always carried with me due to previous allergies. With shaking hands, I administered the injection into my thigh, hoping desperately that it would be enough. But the situation continued to deteriorate rapidly. My vision started to blur and I felt my legs weaken. I fell to my knees, trying desperately to breathe. The fear of death was palpable, mixed with a strange sense of resignation. I remember thinking, so this is how it ends. Amidst the chaos, I heard distant voices. Other hikers had found me and were calling for help. Their voices seemed to come from far away, as if I were sinking into a deep well. The last thing I remember is being carried into an ambulance, the sound of the siren echoing as if from another world. It was at that moment that everything changed. Suddenly, the pain and fear disappeared. I felt myself floating upwards, looking down at my own body lying on the ambulance stretcher. It was a surreal feeling, as if I were a spectator watching a film about my own life. I saw the paramedics working frantically, shocking my chest and injecting medication. I heard one of them say, "We're losing her." But strangely, I didn't feel scared. Instead, I was overcome by a feeling of peace and tranquility that I had never experienced before. Then, everything around me began to dissolve. The ambulance scene, the sounds, the people, everything disappeared into a dark, silent void. For a moment, I thought this was the end. But I soon realized it was just the beginning of something much bigger, something that would forever change my understanding of life, death, and everything that lies beyond. As darkness enveloped me, I felt like I was floating in an infinite void. There was no longer any sensation of body, time, or space. It was as if my consciousness had expanded beyond physical limits, becoming part of something much larger. In this state, I began to experience a series of sensations and perceptions that defied everything I knew. First came a review of my life, but not as a simple flashback. It was as if I was reliving each moment simultaneously, feeling not only my own emotions but also those of everyone I've interacted with throughout my life. I saw moments of joy, sadness, regret, and triumph. I experienced the impact of every action, every word spoken or unspoken. It was an overwhelming experience of self-perception and connection with all beings. I realized that every decision we make, no matter how small it may seem, has repercussions that extend far beyond what we can imagine. As I absorbed these revelations, I felt a presence approaching. It was not something I could see with physical eyes, but an energy that I felt in every fiber of my being. It was a welcoming presence, full of unconditional love and infinite wisdom. Then I heard a voice. It was not a sound in the conventional sense, but a direct communication with my soul. The voice said, "Welcome, daughter. Are you ready to see beyond the veil?" At that moment, I understood that I was in the presence of the divine. There was no fear, just a deep sense of reverence and belonging. I responded without words, just with the intention of my being, that yes, I was ready. What followed was an explosion of light and knowledge. I saw the creation of the universe, the cosmic dance of galaxies and stars. I understood the interconnectedness of all things, from the smallest atom to the largest cosmic structures. Time stopped being linear, and I could see past, present, and future as an infinite continuum. I was flooded with a profound understanding about the nature of reality. I realized that what we call life and death are just transitions in an eternal cycle of existence. Our true essence, our soul, is immortal and constantly evolving. The divine presence began to show me visions of the future of Earth and humanity. I saw great changes approaching, challenges that would test the resilience and collective wisdom of our species. I understood that we were at a crucial turning point in our evolution. The visions were both wonderful and terrible. I saw natural catastrophes, social collapses, but also great advances in human consciousness. I understood that these changes were necessary for the growth and transformation of humanity. As I absorbed these revelations, I felt an immense love for all of creation. I understood that, despite the challenges that would come, there was a greater purpose in everything. Each soul, each living being here was part of a cosmic plan of evolution and growth. The divine presence then said to me, "You have seen beyond the veil. Now, you have a choice to make." The divine presence that surrounded me was indescribable in its magnitude. It was not an anthropomorphic figure, but a pure energy of love and wisdom that permeated everything. I felt completely exposed before this presence, as if every thought, every emotion, every aspect of my being was visible and known. The voice, which was not a voice in the conventional sense, but a direct communication with my essence, continued, "Celine, you stand at a crossroads. You can choose to remain in this state of union with the divine, or you can return to the physical plane with a new purpose." I was surprised to realize I had a choice. Part of me longed to remain in that state of bliss and total understanding. The peace and love I felt were incomparable to anything I had ever experienced on earth. However, the visions of the future I had received weighed on my conscience. If you choose to return, the presence continued, your mission will be to share what you have learned here. You will have to prepare those who are willing to listen for the great changes that are coming. It will not be an easy task. Many will not believe in you. Others will fear your message. You will face doubt, ridicule, and even hostility. But you will also meet souls who will resonate with the truth you carry. As I pondered this monumental choice, I was flooded with more visions. I found myself back on earth, sharing my experience with others. I saw people being touched and transformed by my story. But I also saw the weight of responsibility, the nights of doubt and loneliness, the moments of despair in the face of others, disbelief. The divine presence, sensing my hesitation, said, "Remember, Celine, that you will never be truly alone. The connection you feel now will always be with you, even if it is not always as clear as it is in this moment. You will have guidance and support, but free will always be respected, both yours and that of those with whom you share your message." At that moment, I felt a wave of courage and determination invade me. I realized that despite the challenges, returning and sharing what I had learned was the right choice, not out of obligation, but out of a deep sense of love and responsibility towards all humanity. "I choose to return," I responded, not with words, but with the intention of my entire being. The divine presence seemed to smile, not visually, but I felt a rush of approval and love. "Your choice is a noble one, Celine. Now, let me show you more about what lies ahead so that you can be better prepared for your mission." What followed was an intensification of the visions I had previously received. I saw more clearly the events that would unfold over the next few years, culminating in August 2024. I saw natural disasters of an unprecedented scale, drastic climate change, economic and social collapses. But I also saw the awakening of a new consciousness in many people, a wave of compassion and unity rising amidst the chaos. "Remember," said the presence, "the future is not written in stone. Humanity's collective choices can alter the course of events. Your mission is to help guide those who are ready to greater awareness and preparation." With those words, I felt myself being gently pulled back. The intense light began to fade, and I felt my consciousness contracting, returning to the limits of my physical body. The last thing I heard before I returned completely was, "Go with love, Celine. You are never alone." Returning to my physical body was an intense and disorienting experience. In a moment, I was immersed in divine light, surrounded by cosmic knowledge and unconditional love. The next, I was abruptly pulled back into material reality, into the pain and limitations of the human body. I opened my eyes and found myself lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by beeping machines and tubes connected to my body. The fluorescent light was blinding, and every breath was a conscious effort. My throat hurt from the breathing tube that had been removed, and my entire body felt heavy and strange, as if it no longer belonged to me. Little by little, I started to hear voices around me. Nurses and doctors spoke in urgent tones, expressing surprise at my sudden awakening. I heard someone say, "It's a miracle. She was clinically dead for almost 20 minutes." I tried to speak, but my voice came out as just a hoarse whisper. A nurse approached, her kind eyes looking at me with a mixture of amazement and concern. "Welcome back, Mrs. Lockhart," she said softly. "You gave us quite a scare." As the medical team carried out a series of tests and checks, I struggled to process everything that had happened. The memories of my experience beyond life were vivid in my mind, contrasting sharply with the sterile, clinical reality of the hospital. My mother, Grace, entered the room, tears streaming down her face. She held my hand, her voice shaking with emotion. "Oh, Celine, I thought we lost you," she sobbed. I wanted to tell her everything I had experienced, share the wonderful and frightening revelations I had received. But words seemed inadequate, unable to capture the magnitude of what I had experienced. In the days that followed, as I recovered physically, I struggled to reconcile my transcendental experience with the everyday world around me. Doctors talked about medical miracles and inexplicable resuscitations, but their scientific explanations seemed pale and incomplete compared to the truth I now knew. Dr. Marcus Caldwell, the doctor responsible for my case, took a particular interest in my recovery. "Mrs. Lockhart," he said during one of his visits, "your recovery is remarkable. I wonder if you remember anything unusual during the time you were unconscious." I hesitated, unsure of how much I should reveal. I opted for a vague answer. "Doctor, I experienced something that completely changed my perception of life and death, but I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about it yet." Dr. Caldwell nodded understandingly, but I could see the curiosity in his eyes. "When you're ready, I'll be happy to listen," he said. "Experiments like yours can teach us a lot about human consciousness." As my physical strength returned, the urgency to share my message grew. I knew I had a mission to fulfill, vital knowledge to impart, but I also knew it wouldn't be easy. How could I translate such a profound and transcendental experience into a language that others could understand? My mother was the first person I decided to fully share my experience with. One night, while we were alone in the hospital room, I began to tell her everything I had experienced. I talked about light, unconditional love, visions of the future. I told him about the choice I was given and the mission I accepted. As I spoke, I saw my mother's eyes fill with tears, not of sadness, but of deep understanding. "Oh, Celine," she said when I finished. "I always knew there was something special about you. Now I understand why. Your acceptance and support were like a balm to my restless soul, but I knew not everyone would be as receptive as my mother." As I prepared to leave the hospital and return to the world, I felt the weight of the responsibility I carried. The knowledge entrusted to me was both a gift and a burden. Looking out the hospital window at the world outside, so familiar and yet so different to my newly opened eyes, I made a silent promise. Although the streets of Boulder were the same, the people and places familiar, everything looked different through my newly awakened eyes. Every interaction, every moment, carried new meaning and depth. In the first few weeks after my discharge, I struggled to readapt to everyday life. How can you get back to the routine of teaching, paying bills and shopping at the supermarket when you carry the knowledge of the cosmos within you? The disparity between my transcendental experience and the banality of everyday life was, at times, overwhelming. But little by little, I began to understand that it was exactly at this junction between the mundane and the divine that my mission should unfold. It wasn't about abandoning the material world, but about bringing the light and knowledge I received into the here and now to ordinary people in their everyday lives. I started tentatively, sharing parts of my experience with close friends and coworkers. Reactions varied drastically. Some listened with fascination and openness, their eyes lighting up with new understanding. Others reacted with polite skepticism or even obvious discomfort, quickly changing the subject. One night, during dinner with my friend Sarah, a science teacher, I decided to share more details about the visions of the future I received. I spoke about the drastic climate changes, natural disasters, and social transformations that were to come. Sarah looked at me with a mixture of concern and disbelief. "Celine," she said gently, "you've been through immense trauma. Don't you think these visions might just be a coping mechanism? Maybe you should talk to a therapist." His words, although well-intentioned, hit me like a punch in the gut. I realized then that convincing people wouldn't just be difficult. For many, it would be nearly impossible. How could I convey the truth and urgency of what I saw without sounding like a lunatic or a doomsday prophet? About the need to live in greater harmony with the earth and with each other. Surprisingly, this new approach resonated with many more people. I started getting invited to speak at small spiritual groups and community events. My near-death story, combined with the message of hope and transformation, touched people in ways they didn't expect. One of these events led me to meet Elijah Hayes, a respected community leader in Boulder. After hearing me speak, he approached, his eyes shining with interest. "Your story is fascinating, Mrs. Lockhart-Gow," he said, "but I worry about the impact these ideas could have on our community. People need stability, not predictions of disaster." I understood Elijah's concern, but I also felt he was receptive to deeper dialogue. "Mr. Hayes," I replied, "my intention is not to cause panic, but to inspire positive change. The transformations I have seen are inevitable, but how we face them will make all the difference." Our conversation went on for hours, and although we didn't reach a complete agreement, I felt like I had planted a seed. Elijah invited me to participate in a series of community discussions about the future of Boulder, an opportunity I embraced with enthusiasm. As my voice grew stronger and my message spread, I began to feel like I was fulfilling my purpose. It wasn't easy. There were days of doubt, sleepless nights filled with worry about the future. But each time I saw a light of understanding in someone's eyes, each time I received a grateful hug from a stranger touched by my words, I knew I was on the right path. My new purpose had become clear: to be a bridge between the world I saw beyond life and the world we live in now, preparing people not only to survive the changes to come, but to emerge from them stronger, more compassionate, and more connected to their true divine nature. As the months passed, my mission gained momentum, but I also faced increasing challenges. My life had completely transformed. I left my job as a teacher to dedicate myself full-time to sharing my message and preparing people for the changes that were coming. I organized workshops, lectures, and spiritual retreats. I created a blog and a podcast where I shared my experiences and insights. Slowly, a community began to form around me, people who resonated with my message and sought a deeper understanding of life and the universe. However, with greater visibility also came greater opposition. Some local religious leaders accused me of heresy, claiming that my experience was a demonic delusion. Strong skeptics labeled me a charlatan, arguing that I was exploiting people's gullibility for personal gain. One day, I got a call from Dr. Caldwell, the doctor who took care of me at the hospital. "Selene," he said, his voice tense, "I'm worried about you. I've been hearing rumors about your activities. As a doctor, I can't endorse what you're doing. You've been through immense trauma, and I'm afraid this may have affected your perception of reality." His words hurt me, but they also made me question, was I really helping people, or was I just spreading false hope based on an experience that couldn't be scientifically proven? This doubt consumed me for days. I retreated to the mountains, seeking clarity and guidance. During a solitary walk, sitting by a crystal-clear stream, I had a moment of deep introspection. I vividly remembered the divine presence I encountered, the unconditional love I experienced. I remembered the visions of the future and the choice I made to return to share what I learned. Certainty came flooding back to me. This wasn't an illusion or post-trauma delusion. It was real, it was true, and it was important. I came back from this journey of self-reflection with renewed determination. I realized that the challenges I faced were an integral part of my mission. They forced me to refine my message, to be clearer and more compassionate in my communication. I decided to address the criticism head-on. I organized a public event where I invited skeptics, religious leaders, and members of the medical community for an open dialogue. It was a tense night, full of heated debates and difficult questions. Dr. Caldwell was present and raised several scientific objections to my experiment. I listened to him respectfully and responded, "Doctor, I understand your concerns. Science is a wonderful tool for understanding our world, but it also has limits. My experience transcends those limits. I am not asking you to blindly believe me, but to consider the possibility that there are aspects of reality that we cannot yet measure or quantify." Surprisingly, my openness to dialogue and my willingness to face criticism head-on seemed to ease some of the tensions. Although not everyone was convinced, many expressed a new respect for my sincerity and conviction. This event marked a turning point. I learned that my mission was not to convince everyone, but to offer an alternative perspective, a glimpse of a greater reality. For those who were ready to listen, my message was a beacon of hope and transformation. As time passed, my community grew. People from different backgrounds and beliefs came together, united by the desire to prepare for the future and live more meaningful and connected lives. I began to see the fruits of my labor. People reported profound changes in their lives, family reconciliations, career changes to jobs more aligned with their values, a renewed commitment to caring for the environment. Each story of transformation reinforced my conviction. Each challenge overcome made me stronger and clearer in my purpose. I was growing alongside those my message touched, learning as much as I taught. As we approached August 2024, the date shown to me in the visions, I felt a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. The path to this point had not been easy, but I knew that the real challenges were yet to come. However, I was no longer alone on this journey. I had a community by my side, ready to face whatever the future held. Climate change has intensified in recent months, with unprecedented heat waves sweeping the globe, causing droughts in some regions and catastrophic floods in others. Political and economic instability is on the rise, with governments struggling to deal with increasingly frequent and intense crises. Here in Boulder, the atmosphere is one of nervous anticipation. People can feel that something significant is about to happen, even if they don't know exactly what. My community has grown considerably over the years, and now includes people from all walks of life, from converted skeptics to community leaders, young activists and seniors searching for meaning in their later years. Over the past few weeks, I have intensified my efforts to prepare as many people as possible. I have organized a series of intensive mountain retreats where I teach meditation techniques, share knowledge about sustainability, and cultivate a sense of community and mutual support. During one of these retreats, I had a powerful conversation with Elijah Hayes, the community leader who had initially been skeptical of my message. He came to me one night, his eyes reflecting starlight and new understanding. "Celine," he said, his voice low and intense, "I need to admit something. When you started talking about your visions years ago, I thought you were, well, delusional. But now, seeing everything you're happening in the world, I can't deny that there is truth in what you say." I felt a rush of gratitude and validation at his words. "Thank you, Elijah," I replied. His openness to listening, even when he doubted, made all the difference. He nodded, then asked with an urgency that surprised me, "What can we do now? How can we prepare for what's coming?" Your question echoes that of so many others who have approached me in recent weeks. Everyone feels the imminence of great change, and the need for guidance is palpable. The most important preparation, I respond, choosing my words carefully, is internal. We need to strengthen our connection to our divine essence, cultivate compassion and unconditional love, and be ready to support each other through whatever comes. But we also need to be practical, building resilient communities, learning survival skills, and becoming more self-reliant. Over the past few days, I have been working tirelessly with Elijah and other community leaders to implement preparedness plans in Boulder. We create support groups, organize training in first aid and survival techniques, and establish communication networks that will work even if conventional systems fail. Meanwhile, news from the outside world becomes increasingly alarming. Reports of extreme weather events come in from all corners of the globe. The world economy is in turmoil, with markets oscillating violently. Geopolitical tensions are at an all-time high, with rumors of imminent conflict circulating. In the midst of all this, I notice a subtle but significant shift in collective consciousness. More and more people seem to be waking up to a greater reality, questioning old paradigms and seeking deeper meaning in their lives. Last night I held a vigil under the stars. Hundreds of people gathered in a field in the mountains, forming a huge circle. We light candles and, together, meditate on the future to come. As I guided the meditation, I felt a deep connection to each person present and to something much greater, the same divine presence I had encountered during my near-death experience. A wave of love and understanding swept through the group, and many cried openly, releasing fears and embracing a new perspective. When the meditation ended, I looked up at the starry sky and then at the candlelit faces around me. Despite the challenges that we know are coming, I feel immense hope. We prepared ourselves in the best way possible, not just in practical terms, but spiritually and emotionally. In the days ahead, I told the group, my voice carrying a mix of solemnity and hope, we can begin a new chapter in human history. It won't be easy, but together, with love and compassion as our compass, we can emerge stronger, wiser, and more united. Now, sitting on my porch in the early morning hours of August 3, 2024, I watch the sky that is a strange shade, a deep purple that gradually turns into a deep red. My body vibrates with an energy I can't explain. Despite the apparent calm, I can feel an underlying tension, as if the entire world is holding its breath, waiting. Whatever the day brings, I know we are as prepared as we can be. Now, all we can do is face the future with courage, compassion, and faith in humanity's ability to evolve and adapt. I vividly remember the visions I was shown, the natural disasters, the drastic climate changes, the collapse of old social and economic structures. But I also remember the promise of a new awakening, of an evolution in human consciousness that could guide us through these turbulent times. Looking back, I see how every challenge, every obstacle I faced, served to strengthen me and prepare me for this moment. Initial doubts from my loved ones, skepticism from the medical community, opposition from authority figures, it all forced me to refine my message, to seek more effective ways to communicate what I had experienced and learned. Elijah Hayes, Transformation from Skeptic to Ally, Dr. Caldwell's Gradual Acceptance of Realities Beyond What Science Can Currently Explain. The growth of our preparedness community. These are all testaments to the power of persistence and truth. But as I reflect on our accomplishments, I am also painfully aware of our limitations. Despite all our efforts, we know that there are many who are not prepared for what may lie ahead. Millions of people around the world go about their daily lives, unaware of the great change that may be about to occur. This reality weighs heavily on me. Part of me wants to shout from the mountaintops, warn everyone of what's coming. But I know that not everyone is ready to listen. Not everyone is able to accept a truth that so fundamentally challenges their worldview. As the day progresses, I remain vigilant, watching every sign, every subtle change in the environment around me. My phone is at my side, ready to receive the first news of unusual events anywhere in the world. Our community is on alert. We have teams ready to respond to any emergency, shelters prepared, supplies stocked. But more important than that, we have each other, a support network built on a foundation of mutual understanding and shared purpose. I don't know exactly what this day will bring. The visions I received were powerful, but they were not a detailed roadmap of the future. I only know that great changes are coming, and that our response to these changes will shape the future of humanity. While I wait, I stay centered through meditation and prayer. I connect with that divine presence I experienced during my journey beyond life, seeking guidance and strength for challenges that may arise. My final message to our community, and to anyone who may read this in the future, is this. Regardless of what happens today or in the days to come, remember that you are more than your physical body, more than your earthly identities. You are spiritual beings, connected to a greater consciousness, capable of love, compassion, and wisdom beyond what you can imagine. If we are indeed on the verge of a great transformation, may we face it not with fear, but with courage and hope. May we support each other, reach out to those who are scared or confused, and work together to build a better world out of whatever chaos may arise. And if for some reason, this day passes without the events I have predicted, may it not diminish our determination to live lives that are more conscious, more compassionate, and more connected to our true divine nature. The future is not yet written. Whatever fate has in store for us, we are in this together. And together, with love as our guiding force, we can face any challenge and emerge stronger, wiser, and more united. May the divine light that shines within each of us guide us through the days to come.